This is a little presentation on how to adjust your chin rest to fill in the gap between your neck and your shoulder. Therefore, your violin will come down rather than trying to use your shoulder rest to fill up the space. You wind up having a violin way up high, like this in the air. It winds up causing a lot of tension in this shoulder because your arm over here has to be held up higher. But when you can take the violin down and the violin sits closer on your collarbone, you then fill up the gap with the chin rest. This will relieve a lot of stress and will make it so your neck is also totally comfortable. We want to remove the shoulder rest because the shoulder rest causes stress on the shoulder joint right here by being stiff and by placing on it out here. We want to use a foam so we'll get it away from the shoulder joint and we'll be able to have a free shoulder and the shoulder will be relieved and not be full of stress. So first of all, you want to measure right here on this part of your chin, about this far in, about 2 or 3 inches in from your chin, depending on how big your jawbone is. You want to measure down with a measuring tape. You want to see how many inches with your head turned the direction that you look at your music stand. Not straight on, but you're going to turn your head slightly to the left so that you can measure from right here, this part of your jaw, down to your neck, down to where you feel the collarbone. You want to measure that right there. Okay, look, 4 inches. Then I'm going to keep my head turned that same direction, and I'm going to measure from the tip of my chin down to where it touches my body in a straight line, and see how many inches that is. With my head straight, I don't want to put my head down farther or up farther. I want to keep my head straight. Now measure how many inches is that? 5 inches. Now, that's a very important measurement. Now we're going to take and we're going to use a hill-style chin rest that has a hump in the center. I found this to be the most helpful type. There's also a Berber violin chin rest, which we will talk about, how to adjust that. It's a different adjustment. And you want to get hill style, the new style is better, individual clamps on your chin rest that you can install on your chin rest. And this type is adjusted with a screwdriver. There's a new type out that is adjusted with a normal clamp with a screw type right here, where the standard violin chin rest is adjusted. You want to use this type of feet because you will notice I have about 2 corks on this side and I have about 4 corks on this side of my violin. This causes it because when you heard my measurement is 5 inches on this side and it's 4 inches on this side. So we need to be able to adjust this side lower and this side higher. That's the reason for the individual feet, because the connected clamps do not allow you to adjust it individually. So we want to then take our shoulder rest, which we will talk about how to make one of these very nice curved shoulder rests, which I cut here to make it as small as possible right here at the location of the chin rest, but yet higher up out here to then create a shelf. When I put this on me, you can see that it will create a shelf with a certain angle so that the violin can be parallel to the floor. We want the string of the violin from here, from the bridge to the nut, to be parallel with the floor. We do not want the violin to be parallel with the floor because then the string will angle down. If your string is angling down, your bow, gravity will tend to draw it that way, and you will struggle to keep your bow straight unless you then use your hand to bring your bow straight, and then you'll have tension in your hand because you are curving your finger, mainly your index finger, to keep the bow in straight. So we need to have the string parallel from here to here with the floor, which means the scroll needs to be at about the level of your upper lip, not at the level of your chin. So that's what we will talk about later, about how to get your shoulder rest adjusted so that it will create a lower part here. It's kind of like a wedge shape. It's higher on this side and lower down here. higher up here, and you can use different material to construct it this way to get it to be the shape that you need for your body, because each person is different, and we'll talk about how to do that. So I'm going to strap on my shoulder rest here, and you'll see the nice curve that it has to it, and you will see that right here in the center it is very low. So now if I measure with a measuring tape this end from here, let's see, let's lower this down here. From here to the foam is 4 inches. That was the upper side of my jaw. On the chin side of my jaw, I needed 5 inches. So from here to about the foam, I have about 5 inches, is what, about the middle of the foam. 5 inches. If I measure all the way close into the violin, well, it's less. But into about the middle of the foam, which is where it sits on the violin, it's 5 inches on this side, and I need it 4 inches on this side. So this is very important. Now when I lift it up and I place it, of course, I'm not going to place it like a snake crawling up your shoulder. When you set the violin, of course the violin's going to go low if you set it on that way. And it will actually cause a lot of tension here in my neck because it's too high for me, because the angle I set it in is not the angle that it's designed for. Now, if you set the violin on your shoulder like a bird coming down the sky, like in the Jesus film, if you've seen the dove that flies down in Jesus' shoulder, flies down an angle like this. If you set the violin in at this angle and simply turn your head and nod, you should find that the violin is right at the level of your chin. You do not have to scrunch your shoulder up. You do not have to turn and crank your neck down into it to keep it up. And I simply place it, and without my hand, my shoulder is completely loose. My hand does not have to hold the violin up. My shoulder is now free on this side because I do not have a stiff shoulder rest. If we look at the violin here, you can see my shoulder is completely free to move. And since I have changed my shoulder rest, I have had a relief of the tension in my shoulder, because I used to use all different types of Kuhn, Mach, comfort, cradle, shoulder rests, and even ones with air in it and foam pads and all sorts of things. But this is the only one that I have found that has relieved the tension from my shoulder, and I've received all of this counsel from a wonderful internet site that you should check out and read over, that is called violinistinbalance.nl, Netherlands. It's a study of university students who had very many different problems in their posture and their tension by the time they were in university, that they decided to do a study on them. And there's pictures and all the information, and this is what I have found helpful to me and my students. And now we have a shelf here with the shoulder rest to where I can put it up here, and it will stay at a good angle, even too high of an angle, because that would be too high. Now my bow is going to slip this way if I get it up at the level of my nose, but I don't want it that high, but I could do it if I wanted to. But set it in at a nice angle, and you'll find that your stress will be relieved tremendously. So next, let's talk about how to wrap up a nice shoulder rest and get a nice comfort on there. Thank you.